Jojalapa namaste. Jimila Shrestha. Chikpi Saksita Nepalbhasa times Hijazo. America Neva Kalabala Soedita Laskusiana Tuna. Hello and namaste and welcome to the interview series presented by Nepalbhasa Times. Today we have invited a very special guest today. He was American diplomat for 35 years. He was US ambassador to Nepal for the year 2010 to 2012. And even after so many years after his tenure as an ambassador, he has not forgotten about Nepal, and he has been doing some amazing works for Nepal and Nepali people. Like he's been helping educating children, providing support to elderly people, helping in medical sectors, and many more. Through his charity organization Engage Nepal. And he is Mr. Scott DeLisi. So stay tuned to find out more about him and his journey. Welcome, Mr. Scott DeLisi.
Namaste, Mila. How are you?
Namaste.
It's great to be with you tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for your valuable time.
It's
very
my
honored
pleasure
to be sitting with you.
No, it's a joy to be with all of you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let me just begin with your all experience about Nepal. Like, when did you went to Nepal first? Was the first time you were like? I'm sure there would be more before you went to Nepal, right? Even before you were an ambassador. So
I did indeed. My first time in Nepal was on my first posting in the diplomatic service.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Bombay, and it was still Bombay at the time, and this was in 1982. And we had the opportunity to go visit a few friends at the embassy in Kathmandu. And so that's the first time I flew into the valley and watched the clouds part and Nepal appear below us. And it was absolutely fantastic. And Nepal was a very different place then.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember riding bicycles through the streets, and it was so peaceful. And there were no motorcycles zipping around, and it was a little different scene, but especially going out to Swayambhu and seeing the rice paddies surrounding the mound there. It was quite a trip, and it really touched me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the chance to go back about 2 years later when I was working in Washington as the desk officer for Nepal. And at that time I had a chance to travel a bit more broadly in the country as well. And that's when you really began to know the Nepali people. And I realized that even if we went into the poorest village, people were always willing to open their homes and their hearts. And they would share. They might have nothing, but they still invited you for dal bhat. And these are the things that stuck in your mind. And then I visited a few times in the years that followed. And Nepal has always had a special spot in my heart. And then I was fortunate enough to become ambassador.
That's beautiful. So did you get any opportunities to travel around Nepal?
Oh, well, especially while I was ambassador, I traveled quite a bit. And that was a particular pleasure because both my wife and I liked to take pictures as we traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And we were using Facebook. I was one of the first ambassadors to use Facebook. So I had the Facebook page, and we had more and more Nepalis following us, especially young Nepalis. And suddenly we had the chance to, in some ways, share the country with them through our camera lens, if you will. But for a kid who was in Bharatnagar, to suddenly see Upper Mustang, through the camera. They might not get there in person, but they started to see their country in many different ways. So we traveled quite a bit, traveled broadly across the Terai, traveled quite a bit in the east, was up in Solukhumbu, was up in, as I say, up in Upper Mustang, trekking. There were parts, especially in the far west, we didn't go yet. Mm-hmm. And I still have to get to Lumbini, which I hope to remedy next year. But we did travel a lot, and it was always a joy.
Yeah, I hope you get to see more of Nepal
very
soon.
We definitely want to.
And I must say, you have traveled a lot in Nepal. I think I should go to those Upper Mustang, put those in my travel bucket list.
You absolutely should. I guarantee you should.
Right. Okay, so moving on, I know you love Nepal so much, and that's why you have been doing so much for Nepal and Nepalese people. So what is that? I think this is a question that you have been asked so many times, but I
get asked a lot. Why Nepal,
yeah,
right? Why Nepal?
Yeah.
When I joined the Foreign Service, I was a young man and I wasn't sure what I was getting into. But you very quickly learned that it was about service. It was about engaging the world. It was about a commitment to trying to make the world a little bit better, a little safer, a little more resilient, whatever it might be. And it was a reflection of our values as a nation, but also your values as an individual. And after 35 years of service, you don't just walk away from that, and that becomes part of who you are. And especially as we get older and we start this next phase of our journey, and we say, how am I going to engage the world? You really give that some thought and say, who do I want to be? And what do I want to do? I've had the opportunity to then work on Nepal. And yes, there are a lot of places in the world that have challenges. God knows the challenges we see in South Sudan, in the Middle East. Everywhere you look in the world, there can be problems. We can't fix it all. But in Nepal, at least, I have the opportunity to work in a country that I have come to love, where the people have touched us deeply, and where, because I have some experience there, perhaps we can have a little bit of an impact, make a little bit more of a difference as we go forward. So I often have said, Nepal is one of these countries that just captures you. We come to Nepal, and the physical beauty is striking, and it's a feast for our senses. And then we find a nation that is so culturally rich and diverse, and there's so much to learn, and this becomes it becomes a joy for our intellect to tackle these diverse cultures and try to understand and appreciate all of it. But the people of Nepal, after the scenery has pleased our eyes and the cultural diversity has pleased our minds, the people of Nepal touch your heart. There's something about the people of Nepal, a compassion, a generosity, a spirit, a tolerance, a decency, that really, once you've come to Nepal, you're hooked and you want to come back. And this is why so many Americans, not just me, but so many other non-Nepali Americans, truly love the country. If you visit, you want to go back, you want to be a part of it, you want to help make a difference. So that's what we do.
Right, so that's really wonderful how you have been doing so much for Nepal, and you have been helping Nepal through your charity organization, Engage Nepal, right? So can you also tell us what Engage Nepal is and how
Sure.
it has been working in Nepal and
Sure,
how they're running
be happy
the
to, Mila,
program?
but let me correct one thing, though. It's not what I'm doing, it's what our donors do.
I see.
This is all about, it's not about me. I can help provide a platform or a vehicle, but it's the donors, the people who are stepping up every day, who are giving us the resources and say, we want to make a difference in Nepal. We want to work in partnership with the people of Nepal. And so I'm honored to just represent them, if you will. But so Engage Nepal, we were created with the idea of carrying on work that I'd done as ambassador, where we're looking at the issues of disaster risk reduction and preparedness. Because I went to Nepal right after the earthquake in Haiti. And we saw in Haiti, 234,000 people died. The U.S. spent $1 billion in 6 months after Haiti, and President Obama said, no more Haitis. And when I went to Nepal, the question was, how do we translate that? What can we do to make a difference? So we really did. We made a concerted effort when I was an ambassador, because we recognized it's not enough after the disaster to say, oh my God, this was terrible, how do we help? The time to act is before, when we can truly make a difference. And we did that when I was ambassador. And I'm proud of the work that we did, and I believe that it helped when the tragic earthquake struck in 2015. And we know that'll happen again. It's inevitable. We're in one of the most seismically prone countries in the world. So we have to continue this effort of preparedness and risk reduction. But as we began that work, as now, not with the government anymore, but as Engage Nepal, there was also the realization that, well, building a safe school or a strong home, that's incredibly important. But there's more that needs to be done than that to prepare for the future. And it's helping the most vulnerable. It's addressing the needs of those who, again, need that helping hand to be more resilient, to build for a future that they can face with confidence rather than fear. So our work has continued to evolve, if you will. All of it has elements of preparedness for the tomorrow, but working with children, helping women to find employment, helping entrepreneurs to move forward, bringing health care to those who are most deprived of the opportunity to receive care. All of these things, that commitment to education that we bring, all of this is part and parcel of what we want to do. And we're a small organization. I don't have millions of dollars like I did when I was an ambassador. But you don't always need millions of dollars. We are fortunate. We don't have an office in Nepal. We don't have people driving around in Land Rovers or anything else. But we've got partners on the ground. We've got organizations in Nepal, Nepali-led, of people who know their communities and have the trust of the people and know how to get results, and who are committed, as we are, to transparency and accountability, because we don't want the money to disappear either. And so working with these organizations, we've been able to build something that matters. And again, it's not, we don't go in and say, we're going to build this or fund this project in its entirety. We can't. But we can bring value, that additional funding and help that is that puts someone over the top, and then they can do it. And they may be small projects, but they're catalysts. And when one community can do something powerful, the next community looks at, we can do that too. And that's the sort of thing we're trying to build. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. It's been 4 years now, and we've made great progress. We started very small, but every year we've gotten better and better. We're putting more and more money into the field, and I'm proud of what we're doing with our, because we've got donors who care, but we need more of them. So I hope a few of your listeners will join us in this effort.
Of course, yeah. I hope our audience are listening, and we're going to tell them how they can help.
We will, but we'll get to that.
Before going into there, I mean, I really like what you said, like you don't need millions of dollars to help anybody. I think it's just that you have to have will and passion to help somebody.
Can I tell you, we had one young woman. She was one of the Miss Nepal USA contestants last year. She became one of our youth ambassadors. We gave her $500 in seed money. She put together a fantastic small project working with Seeds for Joy, I think was the local organization that she worked with. But I'll tell you, if I had 20 projects like that, I'd be so proud. And we don't measure this nowadays. We don't measure our success in terms of numbers of households reached, the statistical analysis that the big projects do. We measure it by the joy in a child's face.
Yeah.
We measure it in the tears of a boy who sees his dad saved by one of the paramedics we helped to train and knows his dad is going to live. We measure it in the pride. When we've done work with women entrepreneurs, and I had one of them come to me and say, Excellency, they still call you that, but she said to me, Excellency, I no longer wait for my husband to go to India and maybe send home money to pay my daughter's school fees. I pay my daughter's school fees. That's a pretty cool thing. And when we can see that, then I feel like it matters. And even if that's all I do, you help a few people, it still matters. Our engagement, how we choose to engage the world. It's not measured by how many millions or how many people. It's, have you done something? Have you made the effort?
Exactly. You shared a very wonderful story. I too believe that if one person is helped, maybe there's a ripple effect. Like that person is going to help other people. So, I should thank you for, I thank you and all the donors for helping out. Well, moving on now.
Sure.
Let's find out, how can people help then? I know there's million people here who want to do something.
People ask me this all the time, and I know folks would like to volunteer. Some folks say, I'm going to Nepal, how can I help you there? Well, we have partner organizations who are already well established, and we can certainly connect them to those organizations. But I don't always know if they need a volunteer or if they need anything else, because I count on them to lead and to manage their programs. For us at this end, how can they help? If any of you out there are certified accountants and want to take on a pro bono client, I need to do an annual accounting because we have to keep our reports straight. We have to be able to present this to people. So I'd love that. But aside from that, I had to make that pitch. Aside from that, the biggest thing we can do, it is the funding. We can't make a difference without resources. Yeah, I'm a retired government servant. Most of the folks who contribute to us aren't we don't have big wealthy Rockefellers in the back room writing checks. This is everyday people, everyone pitching in to make a difference. We've got a program, I think in many ways one of our most successful. People would come to me, especially from the Nepali diaspora community, and they'd say, "Oh, Ambassador, I really love what you're doing for Nepal, or what your organization does. But we're struggling yet. We're new to the country. I can't write a check for $500 or sometimes even $100." And I get that. My grandparents were immigrants. I know the immigrant experience. But what we all can do, most of us can do, we can mostly manage. Can we manage $5, $10, $15 a month? Yeah, that's 33 cents a day. Most of us walk into a Starbucks and can blow $10 without, pretty easily, right? You look like a Starbucks addict. I'm just saying. But so we've had people who have committed now to $10 a month, and we'll tell you, www.engagenepal.org is our website. There are the links to donate. We are on Facebook as Engage Nepal. We are constantly putting up links to our projects, talking about the different work we are doing. We've just created a Facebook group. I'll be posting that in the next day or so, the Engage Nepal forum, and we invite people to join us in the forum where we will share more details about this. That's also through Facebook. We are available by email at info@engagenepal.org. It's all pretty easy. Everything's engagenepal.org. We will share with folks our projects, the plans for the future, and we've got so many good projects that our partners have put forward. If only we can raise the funds to do this. I mentioned to you earlier that this little bit every month, right? This matters. People say, well, it doesn't make a difference. It does. Every no matter the size of the donation, it matters. And if we had 20 people in every state in the United States that gave $10 a month, it would cover every expense, all the reports we have to write, everything for the entire year, and still leave us $50,000, $60,000 or more to put immediately into the field, in addition to what we can raise during the year. This is a sort of movement, the community-based partnership that we are looking for. And we are trying to reach out across the very diverse Nepali American community. And it's as diverse here as it was in Nepal. But we all care about Nepal. Whether we are Newari, whether we're from the Terai, whether you're from wherever it may be in the nation. The nation is lifted up when we lift it up together.
Exactly. I'm 100% agree with you.
Thank you.
Well, I must also say this, that the satisfaction that you get by helping some people is so beautiful, and I think everybody, all our audience, whoever is watching, I think they should try this experience at least for once, by donating. I mean, you might even get addicted. So remember, engagenepal.org, you can go there and donate however much you want. You don't really have to write a big check, right?
No.
Like he already said.
But if people, and I know some people don't like to use credit cards.
Right.
We accept checks as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we accept cash, and I account for it too. We are, by the way, just for the record, we are a 501c3 charitable foundation approved by the IRS. So donations are tax deductible as well. And we really are rigorous in our accounting, and we have taken pains. We are registered in states across the nation because that's what you're supposed to do, and we are committed to doing this right. If we're going to represent the people of Nepal, the community, if we're asking them to trust us, we have an obligation to ensure that we can account for the funds that we receive, that we comply with the laws, that we model the professionalism and integrity that I think we all seek, that we want to bring to that partnership with Nepal.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing. So I want to move a little bit away from Engage Nepal. I mean, of course, everything is
That's
all
okay.
together. But so like you were in the position of the U.S. ambassador to Nepal for the year 2010 to 2012, and now it's 2019, and I know you have been often traveling back and forth to Nepal. So, what kind of differences have you felt in terms of development in Nepal? And what do you think the country still needs to make progress on with the limited resources that Nepal has?
It's a very good question, and I'm not sure I'm well positioned to answer it.
That's just your
I am
opinion.
focused. I'm focused much more on how we build our partnerships than I am on that bigger picture. I would say, though, I was really struck, of course, since I've been back on my most recent trip, watching as the nation was coming to terms with the new constitution and how to share power. And when we talk about development and the challenges of development, having the resources, the capacity at the local level to effectively manage new responsibilities and new authorities, and how you get the local level and the center and everybody all working in tandem for the good of the nation. And this remains a real challenge, I think, for everybody, and it's a work in progress, and it's going to take time. And I certainly see that the need remains tremendous. And this is where I find that I've got this very different perspective now, looking at it kind of from the bottom up rather than from the top down when I was an ambassador. And this is why we really do believe, I can't fix everything. And our job is not to fix Nepal. Let me clarify that. Our job is to work in partnership with the people of Nepal who are working to change their lives and to shape their future. And that's what we seek to do. But I really do believe that as people struggle with the big picture, there's a lot we can do at the local level, and we strive to do it. The other thing, though, that I would say is one of the most important things that I did, I thought, during my time in Nepal, was the work with young people. And they are such a huge part of the population. And it is their country. It is their future that we're talking about. And I'm not convinced, I haven't followed it closely enough, but I'm not convinced that that in Nepal that folks are tapping enough into the strength and the creativity and the innovative skills of youth and really empowering them to begin to shape the future that is going to be theirs. And I think that's an important thing too. And this is why, one of the things that I would love would be to have more young Nepali Americans working with us, volunteering to work with us, giving us their ideas, their energy. This is important. And until we reach that point where we are bringing that new generation along, and I know how important it is to listen to our elders in Nepal, but when I went to Nepal and I found that the youth leader of the Congress Party, I think at the time, was 65 years old, I said, there's something wrong with this picture, right? Yeah. So this is what we need to be, one of the things that we need to begin to address.
Exactly. Younger generations needs to come forward, right?
I'm a big fan of that younger generation. I truly am, and I know that not everyone will agree with me, but I do think that this is really an important thing that we have to be looking at as well as we seek to address the challenges that lie ahead.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that suggestion. I hope those who needs to listen, might be listening. All right. So moving forward, this, even within the DMV area, or even throughout the throughout the U.S., there's so many different Nepali organizations, and what do you think, these Nepali organizations, are they doing their job well, or do you have any suggestions for them?
Of course, I want to partner with all of them, so I would never suggest they're not doing their job well. No, never. That would never occur to me. I think it really is very interesting. I can go up to New York City and I will find that there are 25 or 30 different Nepali organizations. I think they may all be doing the very best that they can, and sometimes a very good job of representing the interests of the community that they are from and that they care about. But they don't talk to each other, and they aren't partnering together effectively, and I'm not just picking on New York. I think that this is one of the challenges that we see across the nation. And this is one of the things that I engage in Nepal can play many roles. I've been asked recently, and this is a work in progress, but we may be using one of our creative page on our website to serve as a platform, for example, for perhaps some of the sister city organizations that are working in Nepal. Not for them to have to do what we say, God knows, but for them to share information, to be able to disseminate information more broadly to the community and have a common platform to do so. We are about to do some work in the Magdi district, right? And again, we've got a group of partners, both local partners, local officials, local village communities, all the rest, and organizations that want to work together. And again, we aren't leading the charge by any stretch of the imagination, but we can provide this common platform where we share information effectively. And I would hope that we would see many of the organizations who are doing really good work, but finding that rather than duplicating effort or expending energy that they don't need to, perhaps we can find more of a common ground. As I say, I've spoken to a lot of these individual groups, and it's always been my honor to do that. But I had spoke to the group of the Turayans in the U.S. a year or two ago, and the question was, how do we lift up the Turay? It's an important issue, yes, but we don't serve. The Turay is not served well if that is uplifted at the expense of the rest of the nation. Again, we have to find that way to work together. So I really do hope we'll continue to partner. There's so many organizations, but finding those common threads and a united voice. We've seen other diaspora communities that increasingly have found their voice, both in terms of engaging the U.S. government, in addressing policy issues about their native country, in being a force for mentoring, for change, for innovation back home. This is something I really hope that we'll see. And again, we're happy to play whatever role we can. I don't presume to be a leader in that, but we make ourselves available to help to work together with anybody who wants to work for the good of Nepal.
All right. Well, we are almost at the end of our interview session, and so at the end, so do you want to say anything to our audience, which might not be covered in the interview or we might not have discussed? So is there anything that you want to tell and advise?
I think we've covered a lot of it, but I would say what we're all trying to do truly matters. We have the chance to touch lives, to change lives, and to save lives every day. This year, we worked with one group to help 12 severely malnourished children, infants, who likely would have died otherwise. They're going to live.
Yeah,
we can save lives. We can make a difference. But it's not enough to just say, oh, isn't this great what we're doing? It's that committed, shared effort that matters. And I hope that some of the folks in the community will reach out to us. I hope that you'll engage with us. I hope that you'll work with us as we try to make that difference. I hope you'll join the donors who have already committed. Right now, we've got, I might have on my mailing list, I might have 1,400 people. But only about 10% of them have ever said, yes, I'm going to commit. And I know we all care.
Yes.
But it's translating caring into action. And I don't know what it takes sometimes to convince somebody to act. But it's that sort of commitment that we need. That's what I've found that I am doing with my life at this stage in my journey. And you said earlier, try it. You'll like it. Try it. You'll like it. It matters. It will empower you. It will change you for the better. So I hope that they'll join us. I hope we'll have more and more partners. It's www.engagenepal.org. Come to follow us on Facebook, like our page, and join our new Facebook group. And we will be delighted to work with you in the days to come. And I'm delighted to have you here tonight. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, thank you so much for such an insightful talk we had, and we are very thankful to be sitting with you and talking with you. Well,
Well, you'll have to come back, and next time we'll introduce our bote cooker to the group, all right?
They would enjoy. All
Very
right, so before we wrap up, I just have to thank our several people who have helped us make this interview successful. So we have Jim Shrestha on camera, our producer Praveen Tamrakar, we have Markandeya Pradhan in tech support. We have our coordinator Deepa Razvandari. Also, I would also like to thank Mr. Rosanlal Shrestha for helping me create these questions.
Mistake is Raj Karnikar.
Let me correct myself. Our coordinator is Ms. Deepa
Raj Karnikar.
And also we have some local events going around. So we have Mahapuja going on, organized by NOA, which is going on October 28th in Germantown. Likewise, NPPA is organizing New Year program on November 9th, which is going to happen in Shady Grove Middle School. Likewise, NOA is also celebrating New Year program, which is on November 23rd, happening at Kingsview Middle School. So hope to see you all there, and thank you so much for joining, and do not forget, engagenepal.org.
Engagenepal.org, and you have to tell me where I can find some good Newari food if there are some of these events coming up, all right?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.